Insider trading with Darren Dreger and Pierre Lebrun. Let's get into it. 10 days until Trade Center. A bunch of Ottawa Senators on the trade bait board. But where are they at right now with Jakob Chychrun, Dregs?
Well, just more speculation, right? Rumblings around the National Hockey League, which normally are furnished by other teams talking. But the reality of the situation in Ottawa really hasn't changed specific to Chychrun. There's no rush. There's no sense of contractual urgency to trade this guy. He's a valued piece of the organization. Now, they bring Shane Pinto off of suspension, and he's provided some depth, certainly up the middle, more balance to the Ottawa Senators, a deeper complexion, if you will. So is it possible that Jake Chychrun gets traded before the deadline or on the deadline? It's possible, but it's unlikely. More likely as they revisit in the offseason.
Chris Tanev is probably the name we've mentioned most on insider trading so far this season. Who is at the front, perhaps, of the peloton of teams chasing him, Pierre?
Yeah, I would go with the Dallas Stars, who Dregs mentioned earlier this season have shown interest. Well, that interest has continued to grow from the Dallas Stars. They coveted going out and getting a right-shot defenseman, and he tops that list, is our understanding. And they made it clear to the Calgary Flames what they're willing to pay in a trade for Chris Tanev. But what that package doesn't include right now, my understanding is it does not include a first-round pick. And really, that's why Chris Tanev hasn't moved, because of all the teams that have shown interest, and we know that a dozen teams have reached out on Chris Tanev, no one has slapped a first-round pick yet on the table, which is why I think the Flames are willing to be patient and see if the market plays out. But if he is traded, as we expect, you know, Tanev wants to go to a winning team, a team that chance to win a cup this year. And, of course, Dallas fits that criteria. But, again, Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, among the other contenders with interest.
Jersey had been talking to Calgary about Jacob Markstrom, and we figured Jersey was going to be a buyer with that lineup, but as they've fallen into a precarious spot, Dregs, down the wildcard standings, could they end up selling a guy like Tyler Toffoli, a pending UFA?
They could, but that's not their intent, nor is it their want. They'd prefer to extend Tyler Toffoli, and they've already engaged, at least to some degree, in extension talks with the agent Pat Brisson. Why wouldn't you? I mean, this guy has 25 goals. You can see he's a part of their future. The predicament is they're a non-playoff team right now. So I believe that the New Jersey Devils are going to take the next 3 games out west to deeply analyze their team. And as you get closer to the trade deadline, if they feel that they're not playoff worthy, then perhaps they explore some of the interest that they're getting in Toffoli as a free agent.
We've talked a lot this year about a couple of Flyers defensemen, but Jamie Drysdale gets hurt, Pierre, on Sunday. Does that affect perhaps their trade plans there?
Well, you understand, James, why people would ask that question, because they're in a playoff spot. But the reality is it won't affect ultimately what they decide at the deadline with Sean Walker and Nick Seeler, the 2 pending UFAD that continue to garner interest on the trade market. Now, as we talked before, they may sign one of those 2 players to extensions, and that dialogue is still open. But just because their blue line is depleted now with Drysdale out, and we think he's going to be out about 4 weeks, the team will reevaluate him in 2 weeks, but I think is going to be out 4 weeks. It won't deter the Flyers from the bigger picture and the long-term vision, which is if a team steps up on Walker in particular, I believe they will deal him.
Well, look, injury always factors into the decision-making this time of year. You look at the Los Angeles Kings and what Rob Blake is having to deal with. He's got Victor Arvidsson and Carl Grundstrom still out on long-term. Week to week, they're expected to be back before the end of the regular season. But add another name to the injury list of the Los Angeles Kings, and that's top point getter Adrian Kempe. He returned to Los Angeles after being injured on Monday night. You can see he falls awkwardly on that left arm. He's scheduled to have an MRI on Wednesday. Now, the Kings don't have any cap space, and with those players coming back before the end of the regular season, the only way Blake can get active prior to the trade deadline is if Kempe is long-term, so they'll know more on Wednesday.
Appreciate it, boys. 10 days until Trade Center.